Welcome back to another political talk. Today I want to talk about what is the ERA. Now, the ERA stands for the Equal Rights Amendment. And I want to give a little bit of a background about it and then read a few snippets from articles that I have read recently about it. It was founded in 1923 by a woman named Alice Paul, but no action was taken until 1966 when the National Organization for Women came into play. It was submitted in 1972 to the Congress, but it failed to be ratified by the deadline in 1982 because not all of the 38 states had ratified it. The ERA was necessary because our legal system currently contains the vestiges of a variety of ancient common law principles, which discriminate unfairly against women. These vestigial principles, the report argued, gave preferential treatment to husbands over wives, and it created a double standard by giving men greater freedom than women to depart from moral standards, and used obsolete and irrational notions of chivalry that regard women in a patronizing or condescending light. Let me just say something. In a perfectly fine marriage, the man does not have greater freedom over the woman. In a good marriage, right? Because the woman does what she does. She either works or she's a mother, and the man goes off to work. Each have different skill sets. Each are equal. When there is a divorce, what usually happens is the woman gets the children, the money, and the house. And the man has to go and get a house, and he won't be able to see his children as often. So if anything, women have that greater freedom when it comes to divorce because they get everything, not the man. If the ERA was to be ratified into the Constitution, this is what it would say. There are only 3 sections. Section 1 says, the equality of rights under the law shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex. Section 2, the Congress shall have the power to enforce by appropriate legislation the provisions of this article. And Section 3 says, this amendment shall take effect 2 years after the date of ratification. The text of the amendment is simple, but what it may do when applied is very, very broad. The ERA is necessary because the 14th Amendment Equal Protection Clause has not been sufficient in being protective of the rights of women and others, said the Columbia Law Professor Catherine Frank, who is the faculty director of the ERA project. This is what the 14th Amendment says in a nutshell. Regardless of race or ethnicity, equal protection under the law for all U.S. citizens. That is one of the key things. You have equal protection under the law as a citizen of the United States of America. How citizens are represented in government through the House of Representatives, you have that. You can be represented in any way. There is punishment for citizens charged with insurrection or rebellion against the United States of America. And then there is exempts federal and state governments from paying debts. It exempts federal and state governments from paying the debts of former Confederate states. So, saying that the 14th Amendment is not sufficient for protecting women's rights and others, they didn't read it. Because one of the things why they want to do this, right? Why is the ERA so appealing? Well, because they want the protection of abortion. So if you go back to the first thing I said, right? You have equal protection under the law as a U.S. citizen. they automatically infringe on that when they have abortion. Because abortion is taking away that baby's life. And it's equal protection under the law as a U.S. citizen. If it has a heartbeat, it is a U.S. citizen. It's born in the U.S. It has that freedom to live. And they're infringing on the 14th Amendment by doing that. One of the things said is, up until now, I thought that the right to choose was a solidly established constitutional right. It is. But shockingly, that is no longer the case. Abortion access is on the chopping block. It is not possible to have a true democracy without control over our own bodies. You do have control over your own bodies. Right? You don't want to get the vaccine, don't get the vaccine. You don't have to. It shouldn't be forced upon us. You have freedom as long as it does not kill someone else, hurt someone else, or take away their property. And when they are killing a baby, their freedom gets taken away. Because those two lines don't even cross. Your freedom's over here, killing babies over here. You do not have the freedom to kill something, to kill a baby. The Virginia State Senator Jennifer McClellan, who helped lead Virginia's ratification of the ERA in 2020, said in the U.S. House hearing last year that as we have seen states begin to threaten access to abortion, the ERA can help. If the ERA were implemented, lawsuits could be filed challenging a state's ban on abortion, arguing that it's a form of sex discrimination under the Constitution. This has nothing to do with the Constitution, because Constitution is solely to explain the boundaries that the government has. And when Hamilton wanted to get the Constitution ratified, he went to New York to propose the idea. And the people of New York said, if you're going to do this, then we want amendments for our states, for every state, because we're afraid that you, the government, is going to take away our rights as citizens. Exactly what they're doing right now. Regardless, Hamilton bargained for that. Each state was given amendments, the Bill of Rights, right? And so if a state like Virginia wants the ERA, then they can put that in their state rights. But they cannot put it in the Constitution, because the Constitution is already set in stone and has nothing to do with equality, abortion, none of that. It's only for the government. Opponents have sought to label the ERA the Everything Related to the Abortion Act and say the amendment is nothing more than a Trojan horse for taxpayer-funded abortion. Abortion is healthcare, and the ERA is about gender equality in access to healthcare in the workplace and in school and every aspect of federal and state law and policy. McClellan testified before the House Oversight Committee, and in particular, Black women have been disproportionately discriminated against on the basis of pregnancy, and the ERA would also help with that. That is false. Even if Black women are discriminated against this, they definitely aren't now. It would be white women. And going back to the ERA, and it's saying that we have equality of rights. I have two brothers, and one of them is built just like me. We're very fit, very strong. We work out together. We box with each other. And I know if I was to hit him, he would hit me back. And it would hurt. But my other brother, he's like getting run over by a rhino. He's very meaty, very strong. And I know that if I was to hit him and he hit me back, I would be hurt. Very hurt. So when you talk about your equality of rights, men have a right to hit women if the woman hits the man. And they cannot go cry about it, go to court over it. They can't do any of that. If a woman hits a man, the man can hit her back. Going into the army, they shouldn't make it easier for women to get in. That's not equality at all. Because it's harder for the men. So, make it harder for the women. Saying all this, just think about what would happen if the ERA actually was ratified in the Constitution, which is unconstitutional and illegal. But I hopefully will have a video coming up very soon about what Biden has said about everything in the State of the Union. But I appreciate you guys watching, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day.